Field notes. What's positive about today is I kind of have a framework. I have an idea of how this thing is going to go. And I put together this framework because it has to be a show. And I don't know what that is yet, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. And I have ideas of how it's going to go. Here's my problem now. I have to find a way to not sound like I'm whining and complaining. When I write this stuff down and I look at it on paper, it doesn't necessarily feel like I'm whining and complaining, but it does. There are some redundancies, and I am talking a lot about my personal experience and how that's affected me. But I also want the show to be an experience. I don't want it just to be me doing this. I don't want it just to be me talking about, 1997, 1999. I want it to be, I want everybody to feel it. I want everyone to feel what I'm feeling, and I want everyone to understand more so than listen. You know what I mean? Because I'm not trying to do a TED Talk, you know what I mean? Even though I would love to do a TED Talk. There's just a whole bunch of stuff in this story that I want to get across without it being a talk. I really want everyone to feel what I felt. I want everyone to feel the joy that I felt doing Star Wars. I want everybody to feel how it feels to be around the people that I was around. Because Star Wars was my first movie. That was my very first feature film, and that was my first experience in a feature film. And it was huge. Like, it was so big. It was large. It was an army of people. There was a lot of CGI, a lot of animators, a lot of techs, a lot of engineers. So there was an army of people doing the actual physically making the movie part, right? Cameras and lights and sound and all that. And then on top of that, there was an army of people doing me. Not like doing me, I know that sounds weird. Creating the Jar Jar character with me, right? So I had my own separate little attention crew, making sure that they got everything right. And as they were creating the process of CGI characters with live actors interacting, as they were creating that process that I was a part of, they were figuring out what worked and what didn't work. A lot of things worked. Some of the things didn't work. Some things you don't need. Something they figured out you need. Some things I didn't do, right? I didn't do face capture. That wasn't me. I didn't do anything like face capture, right? They didn't have it. That's something that I think Weta Digital figured out, and Andy Serkis and Peter Jackson figured out face capture. Because what happened with Jar Jar was they had animators looking at my face, going, and tracking my movements just by looking at it. So they would take a month. I remember walking through ILM and looking at the village of animators working on Jar Jar scene by scene, frame by frame. And I remember one animator came up to me and was like, "I've been working on your arm for 3 months. Just your arm for 3 months." And I was like, Jesus Christ, don't hurt me. I'm sorry. I was like, bro, you need a vacation from my arm. Man, he was intense. 3 months. I've been working on your arm for 3 months. I was like, Jesus. Face capture, they tried to do my face on the Jar Jar face, and they have to watch my face, and I'm doing a lot of face stuff. And I had a camera on me in ADR too. So they were capturing my face in ADR and animating it on the Jar Jar. Face capture would have been so much easier, and I think that's what Andy Serkis and Peter Jackson figured out when they did it. So I'm really trying to figure out how I can give all of this information to you, give all this stuff to an audience without going, and this is what happened on day 1, and then this is what happened on day 20, and then we got to meet Michael Jackson, and then this person came out to the thing, and then this person came out, and then the backlash. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that's a show. I think that's a lecture or a book. I have a lot for a book. I should write a book. My man Keith Middleton, who I did Stomp with, he would always say, man, you should write a book, man. Your experience that you went through, you should write a book. And I was like, no one's interested in a book. But when I have a lot of words, like I have like half a book. As I was writing down all this stuff that was happening, I was like, oh man, there's a tome here. Maybe I'll do a book, I don't know. But I don't want to speak about a book on stage with people in the audience unless I'm doing some kind of book tour. I would like to do something that is impactful to you. I want you to feel what I feel, how I felt when I felt it. I want you to know why I did what I did without having to tell you why. But that's where I'm at now. I'm at this very interesting point where I got to figure out, like, throughout all of this material, because I have a lot of material, I got to figure out through all this material, what is the show that I want you to have? Like, what is the show that I want to do? How do I want to make you feel when you feel it? It's frustrating. Shows are hard. Shows are hard.